Hello there, and welcome again to another edition of the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washington. Lots going on. We're going to get all through the portal madness, the coaching staff moves. But before we get to that, the Husker Online Show brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. They are there for you to help the loved ones in your life, and it's never too early to call StayHome.Care to learn about their services. You might have a family member, a sibling, a close friend that needs assistance. Call them. They come to your home. They help you do simple tasks like cooking, cleaning, give you a ride to the grocery store, whatever it is you need. StayHome.Care is there to help you. Call them at 402-205-2233. That's 402-205-2233. Thank you again to StayHome.Care. They're the title sponsor of the Husker Online Show. But gentlemen, let's get into it because it's been nuts. I mean, just when you kind of thought things are going to quiet down, I'm sitting over Monday night at my daughter's tennis, and I'm like, Steve Wilfong's calling me. I wonder what this could be all about. He's like, yeah, hate to break the bad news to you, Sean, but Dante Dowdell is going to the portal. And, you know, I think we were prepared for some, but what we've learned in the transfer portal era is you can't really be prepared. Anything is possible. And for Nebraska, Dante Dowdell evidently had agreed to a new NIL agreement to come back, which was significantly more than what he had been getting the previous year, which he had earned with his play on the field. But evidently it may not have been enough. And there might've been some other teams that have reached out and got involved. And Dante Dowdell on Monday, you know, let Nebraska know he was planning to enter the transfer portal. So now you go into the bowl game, no Gabe Ervin Jr., no Dante Dowdell. Thankfully you get Emmett Johnson back and you have Rahmir. So you have enough Rahmir Johnson for this bowl game. But long-term, this is definitely a blow to lose Dante Dowdell.
I guess. I mean, I hate to kind of phrase it that way. The one thing I would say is I was kind of looking forward to Dante Dowdell developing at Nebraska, becoming a better running back because he has some promise. Never mind. I mean, and you don't want to fall into this habit of that. I'm looking forward to seeing player X develop.
No.
I mean, maybe he will, but maybe he'll be at a different school developing. So I don't, Sean, is it a blow? I don't know if it's a blow.
Oh, I think just the perception of it. Like
it might be a blow too.
Because here's a guy that didn't really get a great fair shake at Oregon for whatever reason. And he got a fair shake here and he showed some promise. And you're like, okay, let's see what year 2 now looks like with him. I think that's where I came from it at. And I thought Nebraska did him right. I thought Nebraska took care of him. They gave him an opportunity, and he was well compensated from everything I was told.
He led the team in rushing.
And led the team in rushing touchdowns. Had the most rushing touchdowns in a number of seasons for Nebraska football.
12. For
a running back especially. So there was a lot there. Now, if you're being critical, and Robin would agree on this, I think, as he's talked about a lot, Dowdell didn't break a lot of tackles, did not break a lot of big runs. Was great at getting that 2-yard run when you needed it, but not necessarily a home run hitter.
Yeah, I mean, he was a complimentary piece. Like Nebraska found a good 1-2 punch with him being the number 2 punch. Yeah, Emmett Johnson was the number 1 under Dana Holgorsen, which is all I'm thinking about because that's the offense now. Right. And when Dana Holgorsen took over, Emmett Johnson was the guy, and Dowdell was the number 2 guy. And keep in mind that Rahmir Johnson was pretty much hurt throughout that. So that 1-2 punch was more, I think, out of necessity because those were the 2 healthy backs that Nebraska was going to roll with. So he got his opportunity, but I think that this move is just another reflection of just the state of college athletics right now, where, yeah, he had an opportunity to make good money at Nebraska and play a significant role, but some other team, or at least got in somebody's ear and said, you can make more.
He rushed
and so the opportunity is to make more money.
Yeah, he rushed for 600 plus yards. 4.3 a carry. So he did some damage. But that's it. He's off. And again, I mean, let's face it, guys, running backs are a bit I mean, if you just look nationwide, there's probably 5 running backs. You go, wow, that guy's a dude. Then there's the rest of them. So it's not, that's why, Sean, I hesitate to say it's a blow. I don't know. I mean, you can just go get another one. Right?
It's a surprise, though, I guess is probably what, I mean, I don't think anybody expected that.
Oh, no, I didn't expect
But the reality is for for some players, an extra $100,000 or plus $1,000 more is worth, and you know,
meaningful.
That's what's going on right now if a team really needs just one thing or maybe two things, they might have the budget to pay top market value, meaning overpay to get a player. And that's what's happening, or we think that's what's happening. Some places might say that, and then the offer could be different when it's all said and done.
You wrote something really interesting, Sean, that these Power 5 teams are battling for about 100 players.
That's how I look at it. There's about 100 players everybody wants.
Yeah, and the Power 5 schools are battling for them, especially the ones that have money. And the agent, I don't want to go too far down this road because it's really unappealing to a lot of people, but the agents know which schools have money and they go to those people. This is really interesting, actually.
And these agents get 10, 15, 20% in some cases, where in the NFL it's 3%.
It's criminal.
Yes,
it's criminal.
Like, I just wonder if there's a way, Robin, if they could come up with a way that agents that represent players are only entitled to a maximum of X amount of fees.
Yeah, but you need some sort of like governing body regulation like professional sports does, where, everybody's following the same rules. Right now, it's just player to player, agent to agent, and no one really knows what the baseline value is. And so guys that can get a player to commit 20% of their earnings, that's on the player, really, and it's a knock on the agent for taking advantage of that player. So it's until there's some sort of standardized way of business that is going forward that everybody has to follow, which doesn't seem like that's anywhere close to happening, you're going to have stuff like this. And it just puts more importance on these young kids, and more importantly, the people around them, to be informed and know how to handle these situations and not get duped by giving an agent 20% of your NIL earnings.
You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. Now, Nebraska did add 3 players, guys, in the portal here as of show taping on Tuesday. Williams Winery, from Missouri, 5-star committed last week. Then Kevin Galick, long snapper, arguably one of the better long snappers in the portal, carried a grade of nearly 89 on Pro Football Focus. He committed. And then the latest one on Tuesday, Jalen George, an all-conference player from FCS East Tennessee State, committed as well. So 2 defensive line bodies and a long snapper, both big needs.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. these are intriguing players. The line, Jalen George is really interesting. I'm not going to do a full film breakdown. I watched his high school film. It's really interesting. He's a little light. See, that's the thing that people are going to point out right away. Mm-hmm. He was like a will linebacker at times in high school. Now he's up to 260, 265. Is that big enough in the Big Ten? We'll see. The thing is, he's got great feet. He's really athletic. He played tackle. He was a good offensive tackle in high school, and he would bury people. He plays the game with a lot of joy. I'm telling you, if you watch him in high school, you'll be immediately intrigued. He played for Collins Hill High School in Sewanee, Georgia. They were a really good team, the 7A state championship team. I would just say super athletic, Sean.
Well, yeah, and keep in mind, MJ Sherman was 6'3", 245, and he had his hand in the dirt.
Would he be a jack? I don't know if this guy will be a jack or.
I'm saying he had his hand in the dirt when Nebraska was playing a 4-man front.
He's going to have his hand in the dirt.
Yeah. So MJ could do it.
Sherman have his hand in the
dirt?
Yes.
When they were doing a 4-man front. When they went at times.
Jalen George, though, will not be a stand-up.
You don't think
no,
so?
He told me.
Okay.
He said he's a guy that could pass rush off the edge or play run blitz, run defense. So he's more in that role, and it's a matter of how many more bodies like him do they need now, because AJ Pena was another one, and that's what's hard about following the portal. Other guys like yesterday on Monday said they were visiting Nebraska. Well, I can tell you today some of these visits have already been canceled, and that's what happens.
Sure,
it's extremely hard, and we've done our best to cover this, and I think we've kept up with the cycle.
Who's AJ Pena? Was he from Rhode Island?
Yeah, and I don't know if he's going to make it in or not. It just depends on the need of bodies at certain positions they're going for. Nebraska did make the top 3 for Isaiah World, who could have a decision by this weekend.
Offensive tackle from Nevada. Never allowed a sack this year for a team that struggled, but he didn't allow a sack.
6'8", about 310. Hello.
So if you see, I mean, he'll stand out. If you see him, you'll know who
that
he
270 is his high school weight. His actual college weight is 310.
As far as now, I want to jump back to who they've got. Williams Winery. Yeah. Wow. I mean, that film is a wow. When you turn it on, your reaction is, oh, damn. Now, he didn't do anything at Missouri. I get that. 2 tackles.
Well, they redshirted him.
They
played him in 4 games and under 40 snaps.
And here's the deal with that, Rob. He's a lineman in the Big Ten, or I guess in the SEC, but oftentimes that's the best move. But when you watch, he's 6'6", 257. I haven't seen anything like that since Gregory here. Now, Gregory was smaller, 6'6", 235, 240. But he kind of reminds you of that. A bigger Gregory, really long arms, super athletic, great. And he looks great running in space, tracks down guys. And he's a physical guy. And you know what he does, what I really like? And I love this in modern football. You don't get to the quarterback that often, but what do you see? Guys that bat down passes. He bats down a lot of passes. And that's really helpful.
I also think it's notable, too, that Nebraska's, going up for some of the top transfer players at some of the most highly coveted positions, which to me suggests that they're playing some big boy ball with their NIL operations and the money that they're coming up with to even be in the conversation with these types of players. We talk about a guy like Dante Dowdell making significant money. How much do you think one of the top offensive tackles in the portal is making? One of the top edge rushers in the portal is making?
Sean. Well, the top tackles are getting $1 million plus, and there's probably 3 or 4 of those guys in the market, and Isaiah World's one of them. And when Oregon and A&M are involved,
exactly.
$1 million. I mean, there's two words that describe Oregon and A&M: Nike and oil.
Yup.
That's true.
Nebraska, their word is peed. Peed.
So to me, I think that's significant because it shows just, I think, how critically Nebraska's viewing this offseason and that they have to make a statement with roster upgrades, not just replacing guys. They need to upgrade at the most critical positions on the roster.
All right, when we come back, we're going to get into the staff movement as well. Some new coaching hires made with bowl practices going on. We'll get into all that next. You're listening to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washett. Before we get into some of the staff changes and movement, this segment of the Husker Online Show brought to you by Omaha Steaks. And guys, it's crunch time. You have presents you want to get for a family member, a friend, a coworker. Omaha Steaks has you covered. Who doesn't want a box of meat sent to their house? And I know I can speak. Robin and Steve, when they got their Omaha Steaks, they call you guys were jacked up.
I made you know what it is outside? It's 50. You can grill outside. I grilled up a burger the other day, one of these, and it was perfect. It was perfect.
So easy.
But they sent it right to your house, and
I called Sean for some guidance.
Omaha Steaks right now. Yeah, he needed some advice on properly thawing out.
Yeah.
I had to explain to Sipple, keep it in the wrapping, fill up a bowl with hot water, and put the meat in there.
I didn't do that, and
do it a couple times.
Yeah.
It's like a big ice cube.
Yeah, I just put it in the microwave.
Did you put Mando on it?
I did not put Mando on it. I almost brought my tube, though. I wish I would have remembered.
Well, Mando's not on the show today, I don't think so. But
I have that Mando body stuff that you can rub on.
Well, hey, Omaha Steaks right now, 50% off site-wide already. But then, because we love you at Husker Online, we're going to give you $30 more off. The promo code is Huskers. It's omahasteaks.com. You already can get 50% off site-wide on a lot of the great items and selections. Then we're going to give you another $30 off. You have to use the promo code Huskers at omahasteaks.com at checkout. Thank you again to Omaha Steaks for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online Show. But guys, a lot of staff movement and things to get to. After our last show last week, Nebraska, Phil Snow, Terry Braden on the defensive line. But the big one recently, Addison Williams, who was the defensive coordinator for Gus Malzahn at Central Florida, also the associate head coach there and the secondary coach. He is in line now to be the secondary coach for Matt Rule. And UCF just hired Alex Grinch as their new D coordinator, but this is a big time hire. Addison Williams made $700,000 last year at Central Florida.
Addison Williams, guys, in 2023 was the defensive coordinator for a UCF unit that was the best in the Big 12 against the pass. 2024, the defense wasn't as good. I mean, the team was 4-8. The defense wasn't as good, but it was still a top 40 defense. So I mean, I don't know, Sean, was there a connection with Rule and this guy?
Well, John Butler was a position coach at South Carolina in 2011, and Addison Williams was a GA there. Addison Williams played at South Carolina, but that is the only kind of crossing there, almost kind of like a Matt Rule, Tony White, a connection, but a very, very limited one. But clearly a recruiter. I was told by somebody that covers UCF that he was without a doubt their best recruiter. And he was responsible for bringing a lot of their players in. And I think within the UCF fan base, there was some concern that maybe some of those guys could also end up at Nebraska.
What do you think, Rob?
What I find interesting, it seems like they're really prioritizing coaches with recruiting connections in Florida and where else, Sean? Texas?
Well, yeah, Texas. I mean, Phil Simpson's a Florida guy.
Oh, sorry, Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Yes, Kansas City.
But like, just look at the new hires. Like, they're all about as dialed into those two regions as you can possibly imagine.
Oh, God, thanks for saying that, Rob. Think of what they've done in Kansas City in the last year. Mosey, Winerny. I can't say his name. Williams Winerny. What is it? Is that it? Is that close enough? Juju Marks. I'm missing a guy.
Winerny.
Yeah. And Dawson Merritt. Think about what they've pulled from Kansas City. Those guys I just said, all high profile guys. I mean, they have Nebraska, you could say, has exploded in Kansas.
Now they're going to go play a game down there.
Right.
And then, we'll get that on our next segment. It's been just this unbelievable run. And honestly, they've had success, but this is the biggest impact they've had.
That's explosion. I mean, all those guys are big time players.
Nebraska's been trying to plant the flag there for what seems like 20 years.
Right.
Now they're doing it, and then doing it in a pretty significant way.
City too. There's a lot of parts to it. It's not just, I mean, there's Kansas City, Kansas, there's suburbs of Kansas City, Kansas. There's, I mean, it's a big footprint. It's not just
Lee Summit goes out.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to Kansas City now. And you've got a guy that kind of ran 7-on-7 and did a lot of things down there as a high school coach.
Jamar Mosey,
and then his son, Isaiah Mosey, coming to Nebraska, knows kids down there. So yeah, the Mosey hire, and I believe he's going to have even a bigger role with coaching receivers this year. Guys,
next season, it's easy to imagine 3 starters from the Kansas City area that just swooped in. Dawson Merritt, which Rule said already, right? Get ready.
He said, come in ready to play.
Mosey, Isaiah Mosey. I've watched him on film. I could see him starting in the slot.
And Winerny.
Winerny better start.
I said it for you there just to kind of set you up there.
I mean, the only thing that will hold back Williams Winerny is Williams Winerny. I mean, he's got all the talent in the world. And, I mean, more talent than we've seen here in a while. Since Gregory, I'd say. Is that too much? Am I saying too much?
I don't think so.
Should I just bite my tongue at this point?
I mean, his recruiting profile alone would suggest that.
Ooh,
can he live up to it? We'll see. But table set.
I'm telling you. The only thing that stopped Randy Gregory is Randy Gregory.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
That's
100.
Right. That's the only thing that stopped Randy Gregory. Because when he was right, it's hard to imagine a better defensive.
He was as gifted of a defensive player as I've seen.
Right.
Next to Sue.
All right. A lot more to get to with the staff, though. It's going to be interesting to kind of learn the different assignments and duties.
Yeah.
When they can make some of this official, too, because it's been out there. And it's a process where they have to get these guys in. Terry Braden, though, I know has talked to guys. And
Snow is all but official.
Yeah, and you wonder what the holdup on that is. I mean,
nothing.
So
just paperwork, Sean.
So it has come together quickly.
I mean it.
With the staff.
It's nothing.
You know, if you're being objective, like they've almost upgraded in a lot of places.
Well, I mean, Rob, how do you feel about 3 coordinators on each side of the ball? I mean, defensive coordinator. So on the defensive side, you have Butler, who is the defensive coordinator. You have Phil Snow, who was a defensive coordinator, and this new fella from UCF, who was a defensive
Addison.
coordinator.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want guys where Nebraska is a stepping stone job for them. You want guys that have been out there and done it. And all three of these guys have been out there and done it. In some cases, the highest level of football.
Yep.
So that, I think, is a big difference compared to the first round of hires, where Rule got guys that he was familiar with, comfortable with, and had that relationship with. Now he's getting guys that he still has that to a degree, but he's getting accomplished coaches that have carved their own paths and are bringing new ideas, which I think is the foundation of a good staff.
The key in that scenario, guys, is the top. It's Rule.
Yep.
I mean, because those guys all have done it. They all have their own way of thinking. There's egos that can get involved. The leader has to keep it all together. And so it's critical for him, for Rule, to keep it all together.
Mm-hmm. And the bowl practices all week for Nebraska, a full week to get ready. I mean, they leave for New York on Monday.
Crazy.
And today is Tuesday.
Like, what happened to bowl month?
I know.
Well,
it's portal month.
It's portal. I mean,
staff hiring month.
Yeah, we got to back. Yeah, you got to kind of back up. You almost have to kind of remind yourself. That's why I wrote what I wrote today. I was like, I think I'm just going to write about the team, like the current team.
Mm-hmm. They still have a game to play,
right? There's it
doesn't feel like
interesting. I mean, you almost kind of have to divide up duties a little bit.
And, yeah, I mean, I've been on full portal. It's been
you've been on full portal.
Mm-hmm.
Now. The thing I wish it were like the old days when we'd go over and cover practice.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that's been the weird thing.
It's been limited access.
The last time we covered a bowl, we were there like multiple days a week,
right,
for like 3 weeks.
And again, the issue is the groups are just too big now. I mean, it'd be one thing if it was 6 of us going over there, but there's 40. And why there's 40 people, it's crazy. I don't know. But there is.
But there was a lot. They just used to do it. I'm not quite sure why we don't.
It's a little different now with the portal, and coaches aren't even on the road though. So bowl month is more manageable because everything you're doing is in Lincoln. You're not leaving Lincoln.
This isn't me. Don't read this as me complaining. It's not necessarily complaining. It's just pointing out something. We're not really covering the team over there.
The fact that the staff was kind of in flux for a little bit.
Yeah,
like, we can have coordinator day. You don't have a defensive coordinator hired yet. Like, that may have had something to do with it. And then Matt Rule said it himself. Like, he didn't even know what day it is right now because he's trying to juggle so many things. He's trying to finish out his staff. He's trying to hit the portal. He's trying to keep guys here. He's trying to recruit for 2026. He's doing all of these things. Oh, and also he's trying to get his team ready for a game. Like, there's all these things that are on his plate right now. I get it if he doesn't want to spend 20, 30 minutes rehashing everything that's happened.
You know what's really helpful in that scenario? To have Phil Snow and Dana Holgerson running practice.
Yep.
Seriously.
All right. When we come back, we're going to talk about Nebraska having a season opener in 2025 in Kansas City. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washett. Again, the Husker Online Show brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. They're there for you to help the loved ones in your life. Give them a call at 402-205-2233 to learn more about the services they offer. We're also brought to you by Ellerbrock-Norris. They're helping Nebraska business owners protect their purpose for over 120 years with risk management solutions built for local businesses. Ellerbrock-Norris partners with you on commercial insurance, group benefits, business exit planning, safety, and more. Start thinking long-term with your business and create a risk management strategy to protect it. Are your employee benefit costs going to the roof? Talk to Ellerbrock. Workplace injuries skyrocketing your workers' compensation costs? Talk to Ellerbrock. Hoping to retire in the next 10 years and sell the business to family, key employees, or even a friendly competitor? Talk to Ellerbrock. Ellerbrock-Norris is helping you protect your purpose, whether it's your business and the employees in it, your life outside of work, or your future retirement goals. Head to ellerbrocknorris.com/HuskerOnline today to get your free risk evaluation. Thank you to Ellerbrock-Norris for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online Show. But big announcement this week on Monday, and it's official now. I think we had this about a month ago in our tunnel talk, and it finally became official that Nebraska will open the season in Arrowhead Stadium on Thursday, August 28th against Cincinnati. It is Cincinnati's home game.
Okay.
So like, Nebraska's not giving up a home game. They are getting a huge advantage. Cincinnati, though, has 7 home games. This would have been their 8th home game. So for them, this is kind of like house money. and they're trying to maximize it. Lucas Oil Stadium gave Cincinnati $2 million they estimated they would make on that game there. Well, Arrowhead Stadium and their organizers contacted them and said, we'll guarantee you 2.5, but there's a pretty good chance you'll break 4 and have a shot to push 6.
Hello.
So for them, a lot of it will depend on how many tickets Nebraska fans buy. And as of right now, the lower section there, the far sideline there, that's where Nebraska will be seating. And that lower section's basically sold out already. And that was within a couple of hours. So I'll be interested to see, guys.
Whoa, that whole lower section sold out.
Yeah, I'll be
on the Nebraska side.
And the yellow, so the yellow seats are the club seats. You get access to like the bar and the lounges in there. The red section, I've sat there, lower concourse. Guys, the upper seats there are great too. You have a great sight line. You're very close to the field.
Because it goes straight up. So you're like looking down on the field, all 22.
Oof. And this will be one of the best tailgating experiences for Nebraska fans, because rarely do you just get open pavement parking lot like this where, there's no bars, there's no restaurants. It's all tailgating. So it's going to be a fun weekend in Kansas City. And just for the sake of this program, I hope they sell it out. I think it will be a big statement if Nebraska can go into Kansas City and still sell out Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I got a question for you, and I'm thinking out loud. Was this just a power move by Arrowhead?
Yeah, they won a college game. The Chiefs don't play until the next weekend. So the Chiefs will either play Thursday if they win the Super Bowl again, or they could open up on another day.
So this strikes me as a win-win-win. It's a win for Arrowhead. It's a win for Cincy. Certainly a financial boon for Cincy. And it's a win for Nebraska because it's essentially like a pseudo home game almost, and exciting for the fans.
Well, yeah, compare it to what it would feel like in Indy. Like, I don't even know how many Cincinnati fans would go. I don't know how many Nebraska fans would go. It'd be in this big NFL stadium, and it would just probably feel empty.
It'd be 35, 40,000, where this is going to...
Is that all you think it would be?
Probably.
And I think this is going to have a good chance to break 70,000.
Yeah.
Win.
It seats 75 or 74.
Nothing against Indy. I mean, we like Indy, right?
It's just hard to get to.
Yeah. Do we like Indy?
I mean, once you're there, I don't like going to Indy. I like being there. It's fine.
But yeah, this is the first time Nebraska's played in Arrowhead since 2006, the Big 12 title game, and then in 98, the Oklahoma State game.
Yep.
So they've had 2 games there in history.
Super exciting.
And, I wish it was a Saturday because I think it would be a lot easier for people, to go. But now Thursday, you have to do some moving around. But a lot of people to stay down there. Like my friends and I are already talking. The Royals play Friday and Saturday. So go to the game on Thursday night.
Party.
We already got our hotel. My wife, my family, and my bunch of my friends plan to go. And I know a lot of people. A lot of our friend groups were messaging one of the Robin. Same thing. We're like, hey, we're getting tickets. We're going down.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great deal for Nebraska fans.
Well, and the fact that I think this is the closest non-conference road game Nebraska's played. I think Dave Feet wrote this. Memorial Stadium to Arrowhead is 203 miles, making it Nebraska's shortest non-conference road trip since 1920. So, you want to go see the Huskers play on the road? This is as good of an opportunity as you're ever going to get.
Non-conference.
Non-conference.
Yeah, in the old big 12 days, obviously Manhattan's only about 130 miles away.
God, I hope you're right, Sean, about the sellout. Like I hope fans get down there.
Hey, closest road game overall since Kansas in 2009.
By the way, that 98 game, we got stuck on the interstate. The Journal Star crew. It was so, there's not a lot of ways into that stadium, Sean.
No, that's what they got to be prepared for, the in and outs, especially if it's sold out.
Leaving is the hard part.
Yeah,
well, getting there, we didn't get there till the
I think with this being a night game, people are going to trickle in.
Or tailgate.
You're going to get there like at noon.
Yeah. That was a night game in 98, though.
Why you guys pushed it that late is crazy to me. You're going to go work.
Well, my point is, I don't think we pushed it that late. We just got caught. We're in standstill traffic. I got out of the car and got a cookie from the car ahead of me. They were giving people cookies. Like I walked out of the car at one point. True story.
Plan accordingly.
No, the last time Nebraska, they've sold it out both previous times they played there, Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. The Oklahoma game at that time was the record crowd for Arrowhead Stadium.
Big 12 championship game. It was monumental.
Frigid. It was frigid.
Yeah, it was so cold. It was really cold. It was a monumental game. Nebraska should have won.
21-7. They fumbled the opening play from scrimmage.
Perhaps. I don't remember.
A bubble
that.
screen.
Yeah.
Maurice Purify and Reggie Smith.
Right along the sideline.
But Purify fumbled it?
Yeah.
Really? God dang, he was reliable usually.
Yeah, and then
Purify was a beauty.
Oklahoma, it was 14-7, and they had a 3rd and 13 from their own 1 yard line. And they called the rollout play, and Jermaine Gresham caught it. And then they ended up scoring, I think, to make it 21-7. But Nebraska would have got the ball back down 14-7, and it would have been inside the 30-yard line because it was hard to punt that day. They would have been punting out of their end zone. And so that was, to me, as close as Nebraska has been to winning a conference title in this drought. You can argue the 12 team should have won the title because they beat Wisconsin that year, but they got their freaking butts kicked against Wisconsin. Right. We don't even need to go through that game, but that was one. Oklahoma was probably the most flawed Big 12 champion in history.
They were injured.
No Adrian Peterson.
No quarterback.
Yeah.
They had a receiver.
Paul Thompson played quarterback for Landry, not even Landry Jones. It was the guy before Landry. Right. He was a 5-star player. I forget now. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
They were down. That wasn't okay. I'm getting out over my skis.
No,
I think they were their third.
It was before.
Wasn't their third string quarterback? Is that what they were dealing with? I think it was
Rhett Bomar. It was Rhett Bomar was out, and Paul Thompson took over.
Yeah.
No Adrian Peterson. They did have Jermaine Gresham, but Nebraska was out without Zach Bowman the whole year. So then they were forced to put Courtney Grigsby on 6'4" receivers all year. And that's how all the games they lost were the matchups they dealt with by not having Zach Bowman. You go back to that year. Every team put Limas Swede, all these big receivers on the, and they would have.
Courtney was a good player.
He was a good player, but they just had to match him up wrong.
Yeah.
And that was a tough loss, but man, I'm looking forward to Arrowhead. Some barbecue.
August 28th.
And people what do you, before the game, I'm not really worried because no one's going to get down there Wednesday night.
Some people are.
Are you?
No.
but
some people.
In the day of the game, you're just going to tailgate down there anyway. It's not like you need to be close to play. Just stay wherever and get to the stadium. That's really the point. Hotel rooms are filling, tickets are selling. Get on that. The public sale later on this week, but the pre-sale code was KC Husk, and that was open earlier today. And I don't know if it closed or not. But yeah, lots of people already buying those tickets. When we come back, we'll take your questions in the mailbag. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washut, Abby Barmore not with us today for the mailbag as she is traveling and off in Louisville for covering the Final Four. So we hope Abby has a safe trip out there and looking forward to her coverage. But again, we're brought to you by the title sponsor, StayHome.Care. They're there to help you with the loved ones in your life. Give them a call, 402-205-2233. That's 402-205-2233. And we're also brought to you by Babbel. And guess what? We're going to New York City. So you might have to learn a couple new languages getting around the streets there, Stephen M. Sipple. And good way to do it.
Well, I'm in trouble then because I know one language.
English.
I can't get the Babbel quick enough.
Seriously, a lot of people want to learn a different language.
Sure.
Get around the streets, go on a trip. You not have to use your phone to translate and do things. Babbel makes it so easy to learn a new foreign language, and they're quick to learn lessons, straightforward, easy to follow. You do it on your time, and we've got a great promo. If you've never tried Babbel before, we're going to give you 60% off at babbel.com/Husker. That's BABBEL.com/Husker to give Babbel a try. Babbel has quick 10-minute lessons. They're handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Don't pay hundreds of dollars for private tutors. Give Babbel a try again. That's BABBEL. That's babbel.com/Husker. Thanks again to Babbel for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online Show. Okay, let's get to the mailbag. And I'm going to do my best, Abby, here. But do you see in you making more moves on the coaching staff? What do you do about Coach Satterfield's salary? And that's a good question. As far as more moves, I mean, the secondary coach, Addison Williams, I think is kind of the final big move. I don't envision, but what I'm going to be interested in is after the bowl game. will we quietly see people exit or move on to other opportunities?
What are they doing with Satterfield?
Well, he's making $1.4 million.
Okay.
And I just don't know how you get out of that. Like, no matter what, he's making $1.4 million next year. Like,
can't get out of the contract.
So,
The way it stands is he would make $1.4 million to coach the tight ends,
and maybe he has a different title. I don't know what the role is, and maybe his contract doesn't have a extender on it.
Okay,
because he's entitled 1.4 next year, come hell or high water.
Right.
If he's living in Cancun or Lincoln, Nebraska.
Right.
So
interesting.
And maybe it just makes sense. Have him keep working. I mean, this unlimited coaching rule gives you a lot more flexibility. Like, it's no longer a standing 10.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can have 20. You got to pay him, but they're entitled to pay him that money still.
And there's no like cap of what you can pay your staff.
No.
So, I mean, it's basically just, does Nebraska want to eat the 1.4 and get him out of here, or have him stick around and have the most expensive tight end coach in college football?
So, I mean, what's interesting to me about this whole conversation is Rule made a move at offensive coordinator. He made a move.
Yep.
Defensive coordinator moved. Okay. We'll say moved. Now what? Now, what about, is there a clean sweep here? Is there going to be a special teams coordinator, a new special teams coordinator?
Well, Ed Foley's actively involved in the recruiting of Jack McAllister, the Washington punter, Kevin Galick, the long snapper. I mean, everybody says this, but the fact
nobody says it necessarily.
But everyone, I mean, I've read what you've written and other people have written, suggesting or thinking that a move, but there's no actual evidence that a move has been made, because he is still heavily involved in the recruiting of the specialist.
Yep. I see that.
Now he's off the road, which is not a big deal anymore. I mean, being on the road is January and May. That's it. And then like 3 days in the season.
I will just tell you this, Sean. A lot of people are watching that.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't disagree, but you can reassign and move things around.
Sure.
Yeah, it might not need to be an outright firing, just some shuffling.
But again, he's entitled to what he's supposed to make next year. Like, you can't just say, he's got a contract. So, like, how do you handle that is the better question if you did make a move.
Well, regardless, that area of the game needs to be revamped as much as anything. Like, Nebraska's special teams were a disaster from start to finish last season. And whether it's bringing in a new coordinator, shuffling responsibilities, like, there needs to be dramatic improvement in that facet. Otherwise, you're going to see the same results.
I would amend what you said a little bit. They had, I'd say, a few acceptable games, but that's where we're at.
Okay,
now.
yeah, you're praising them for acceptable.
I'm not
where
praising
they
them.
didn't have any back-breaking mistakes.
Right.
Well,
no, it's got. But Robin, I'm underscoring what you said. Basically, it's gotten to, the standards have gotten that low, where if you get through a game and there's not a catastrophe, you're like, oh,
special teams play pretty well.
They beat Rutgers 14-7 with 2 blocked punts, and one of them took one of the most miraculous goal line stands we saw all year.
Purdue.
The Purdue game had 2 blocked field goals and another that was muffed.
Think about as we were watching the Purdue game, just take yourself back to that moment.
Yeah, halftime of Purdue.
0-0.
We were incredulous about what was happening. We were sitting up there incredulous.
Look at the last game they just played. Yeah. Special teams. I mean,
it cost them.
So what I'm saying, like, if you're going to go status quo here, something's got to change, and I don't know exactly what that would be.
I don't know. I will just say it. I don't think you can go.
I don't either.
Quo. Will Garcia Castaneda field punts in the bowl game? That would be another thing to watch.
Good question.
Because he's the guy that takes the fall for going so deep on that ball, which led to that cluster.
He didn't have anything to do with the long snapping issue, though.
No. All right. The next question. Does revenue share change the fact that your NIL collective can give money to players? In other words, can your NIL still pay players on top of the rev share money? Yes and yes. So Nebraska, the good news is they're going to be fully funded. So there's $20 million that you can use for rev share. And then there's like 2.5 that has to go towards scholarships. So it's 22.5, but 20 for rev share.
Okay.
Nebraska is going to be at that 14.5 number, which is the gold standard to be maxed for football. Okay. And then on top of that, the collective starting, can be involved. So for the next 7 months, the collective's paying everything.
For the next 7 months.
Then in July, it goes to the 14.5 in-house with new deals on
football.
On top of the additional supplemental NIL deals.
The question people will have, Sean, is how much supplement. Okay, once the rev share kicks in 7 months, then how much additional NIL money will you have available? That's the question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's a school to school, and what's necessary.
That's a school to school.
Because look, people grind like, yeah, you want Nebraska to pay their team $20 million, but you have to have a team worth paying $20 million to. Like if Nebraska paid this roster what Oregon pays their roster, that'd not be good.
No, because you'd be paying for a 6-6 team versus in their case, an undefeated team.
And you could argue pound for pound, Nebraska probably has paid as much as any team for 6 wins.
Yeah, not great. See, Rob, here's what's going to happen now. Nebraska's set up so well. So they're going to be set up in-house. They have a very strong apparatus NIL. The next question is going to be, when's this start paying off?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean,
sometimes you need some ROI.
Right.
Well,
So
it's never been easier now, though, to boot players.
To boot them.
Because you're paying so much money. This is not, I mean, yeah, the education's still there. But if these guys want this kind of money, it comes with some consequences.
You want to be paid like a pro, you're going to get treated like a pro.
Yeah, it's rough. It's real life.
Yeah. Welcome to the pros.
Right.
Son.
Right. You're not carrying your weight.
Remember when guys got excited on the bull trip to go on the Best Buy shopping spree for $500?
Rex Burkhead got like
a Norelco razor.
Better times. Better times.
There were guys carrying flat screen TVs out of Best Buy. I mean, they thought now it's like, I don't even know if they do bowl gifts.
It's good. Well, we will find out. Okay. That's one thing we need to do is find out if they do bowl. I bet they do.
To some
I bet
degree.
they do.
No one's written that article about what bowls give anymore because I think they've kind of done away with it.
You might be right.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Are there still bowl gifts?
Some quick questions out here. Who replaces Bryce Benhart at right tackle?
Good question.
I don't know if there's a direct answer to that because you have obviously Gunnar Gatula, theoretically Turner Corcoran.
Could be Knutson, right? Brock.
No, I don't think so.
He's listed number 2 right now.
Yeah, well, Prohaska will be back.
Now hold on. I'm going to say this. Going into the Iowa game, if the depth chart had Brock Knutson.
Yeah, because Knack was hurt too. I mean,
right.
simple. I would be shocked if Brock. I would be.
Would you put Tyler Knack in there?
Well, Teddy or Turner?
Oh, not Tyler.
I mean, no. Teddy, Turner, and Gatula. Those 3 guys, in my opinion,
It'll be one of those.
One of those guys, and then if they got in like World, Isaiah World, or a portal tackle at left. I mean, but I don't see Knutson. I mean, I'm not going to he's not ready to be a starting Big Ten. He's there right now because Jacob Hood's gone. They have nobody.
Some people would argue that Turner Corcoran wasn't ready to be a starting.
He was playing all right though. He wasn't playing that bad.
He was. I think that the domino in this conversation is yet to be added to the roster. I think they're going to get a tackle, whether it's a left or a right, and then that addition is going to impact how the other side.
All right, quick one here for you, Sip. When are you going to change your X profile picture? We'll take a look at this.
Jeez, look at that.
Yeah, 1998.
Look at that hair.
Went to the Lincoln Gateway Mall and got a glamour shot done.
No, that was.
Was that your MySpace profile pic?
Look at the smolder.
That was Journal Star. It was the Journal Star, and I think it was not as long ago as you think. I think it was 6 years ago.
It's like when you go on those online dates, and then like the girl's like, "Wait a minute, you're not him."
Yeah, it looks different. I was heavier, and obviously
you look good.
Thanks, Sean. I really appreciate that. People make fun of that shirt. It had a huge collar. Like
it's an aggressive collar.
You sized up.
Yeah, it was a gigantic collar.
It's a power collar.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I had a shirt. I mean, it was. Here's what happened at the Journal Star. It was all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, we got to get your mugshot. We're doing your mugshot." I'm like, "What?" And I just had like a shirt that was there all the time, just in case. And I happened to have that coat, and there it was. It kind of went together. It looks okay, but it was all very hasty. It was all very hasty.
Sipple needs one of those like Facebook ones of the dudes that wear the sunglasses.
Oh yeah, you're driving.
I just can't believe I had that much hair.
The white sunglasses.
That's so what? It is a long. That's 7.
Well,
years.
and I help when you came over to work for us, I kind of had to help you rebrand and rechange things on your accounts. Remember?
Yeah. Yes.
And your like background pic, is this the random Memorial Stadium? Because we couldn't use On3 yet. Because I forget what it all.
I can't remember, Sean.
But yeah, anyway,
it's probably time for a change.
Yeah, maybe Casey Fritton will take a new headshot.
There you go.
I'd do that.
Yeah.
And final question: favorite Christmas song?
What is it, guys?
Mine is "Last Christmas."
I don't know what that is.
Last Christmas, you gave me your heart. The very next day, you gave it away.
You guys need to have a son.
So my wife, we listen in the car all weekend to nonstop Christmas music.
So, yeah.
You need to have a son. You need to balance out the testosterone in your house.
Yeah. There needs to be some balance.
Well, the Mariah Carey one, "All I Want for Christmas," that gets played in my house like all day.
I'm sure.
Rob.
Geez. The Charlie Brown Christmas album from start to finish is a classic.
Really?
For me. Oh man, it's just smooth grooves. I love
Really?
it. Yeah.
What's that? Just name a couple songs.
Well, it's the Vince Giardi or whatever Giardi trio. There's no words. It's all instrumental. It's like
really?
Charlie Brown. Like,
oh, okay.
What do you got, Sip?
Run, Run, Rudolph by Chuck Berry. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's really a good one. I always tell the story. It came on, it popped on when we were at an Oklahoma City Thunder game, and it freaked the crowd out. The crowd went wild. It's a great Chuck Berry song.
Eartha Kitt, 5-pound box of money. That's a good one too.
Okay,
it's a classic.
All right. Well, when we come back, we'll talk Husker basketball. They got a huge win, and they're off to Hawaii. We'll hit on that next. You're listening to the Husker Online Show. Final segment of the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washut. Again, brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. They're there for you to help the loved ones in your life with all the simple tasks, whether it's cooking, cleaning, grocery shopping, a ride to a doctor's appointment. Give them a call at 402-205-2233. We're also brought to you by HelloFresh. If you haven't tried HelloFresh, they make it so easy for you. They send you all the things you need, the recipe cards. You pick out the meals you want. They send you the produce, the fruits, the meats, the spices, everything you need. And it's already pre-measured in a lot of cases on some of those things. And it's all set to go. And, we've done it a lot at our house. You get the box, you pick out maybe anywhere from 2 to 4 meals per week. And you can order for 2 people or 4 people. So you're not going to have way more food than you need. And we've got a great deal. If you've never tried HelloFresh, they're going to give you 10 free meals applied over your first 7 boxes for subscribers only at HelloFresh.com. So give them a try. We've got a promo code here. It's HelloFresh.com/freehusker. That's HelloFresh.com/freehusker. You'll get 10 free meals applied over your first 10 boxes. That's for new subscribers only. Thanks to HelloFresh for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online Show. But Robin, let's hit on basketball because you and Sip, I was there too as well. Big win against Indiana. Obviously, the Creighton game is still probably the high water mark of this year, but that had to be right up there with just the way Nebraska punched Indiana early and finished the fight and pulled away in the second half.
That was the way they responded. A week earlier, they got embarrassed. They looked like they didn't even belong on the same court as Michigan State in a 37-point loss that was a 2-possession game at the end of the first half, and then it just completely avalanched on them. And it's been a long time since we've seen a Nebraska team completely fold like that, to where you're at the under 12 timeout in the second half and the game is over. Like there's zero interest in the outcome of the game because it's that lopsided. And for them to have to chew on that for nearly a full week, that was kind of a come to Jesus moment, I think, for this season and this particular group. Like they had 2 ways they could go because Indiana was coming in, playing some pretty good basketball. They just whipped Minnesota the game before and played maybe their best game of the season. And so Nebraska had to kind of stop feeling sorry about themselves and figure it out. And credit to their veteran leaders, Bryce Williams, Juwan Gary, and others who stepped up and kind of got things under control and were the leaders that Nebraska needed them to be. So Nebraska couldn't have played much better. They got up to a 13-3 start. The game got close. towards maybe about the fast 4 or 5 minutes of the second half. But then Bryce Williams stepped up, knocked down a killer three. Juwan Gary followed up on the next possession after a stop, knocked down a killer three. And so when Nebraska needed its top guys to be the alphas and carry this thing and get it back on track, they stepped up and answered the call.
It's informative, by the way, that Michigan State game. Now, I didn't hear a ton of it from the fan base, but I heard some like, "Oh, here we go again. This is a bad team." The informative part is that happens in basketball. Sometimes a game does get away from you. You don't want to read too much in it. And this was a classic example of that. Nebraska's a good team. Yeah. One game got away from them. That's all that was.
I think it also showed two things too. One, how difficult, they always say how difficult it is to win on the road. I don't know if that's ever been more true than it is this season. Like the Big Ten across the board, like there's no like surefire Final Four team in the conference right now, but they could have 11 teams in the tournament. And so day in, day out, game in, game out, you're playing against a potential NCAA tournament team, and going on the road and winning in this league is extremely difficult. And just look at what happened to Michigan State, and look what happened when Nebraska was at home. Like Nebraska looked like two completely different teams. And I honestly think that venue is going to be more of an X factor in this season when conference play gets rolling than maybe it's ever been.
And now it's on to Hawaii. And most importantly, Nebraska split these first two Big Tens. You don't want to go 0-2 in these December games.
Huge.
They've done a really good job. I don't know, Robin, I don't think they've ever gone 2-0. Have they ever gone 0-2 in the first two? It feels like they've always split.
They certainly have gone 0-2 before.
In the opening December games.
Yes.
They've done a pretty good job most years of splitting. And, last year was the year they could have went 2-0. They blew the Minnesota game on the road.
That was a bad loss.
And then they came back and played out of their mind to beat Michigan State.
Yep. So again, there's another reason why I was critical. Also with the way that their schedule was set up, had they not beaten Indiana, they would have gone 3 full weeks without experiencing victory. And just from a morale standpoint, like if you go in the better part of a month without winning, like that's hard to just suddenly pick back up, and then the calendar turns and all of a sudden be clicking on all cylinders. So like just having the taste of victory again, especially now going into another weird schedule anomaly, going all the way out to Hawaii to play a bunch of mid-majors, like they needed some confidence in the worst way, and they got it.
And now Nebraska will play Sunday at 8 o'clock Central against Murray State. And then on Monday, the 23rd, Charlotte or Hawaii. And then potentially maybe Oregon State or somebody on the 25th. Yes. So they have 3 games, and then they come back on the 30th with Southern in Lincoln. I mean, you're looking at a 4-game stretch. If Nebraska does what needs to get done, Robin, they could be 11-2.
Yeah, they should be. I mean, so the only team right now that's ahead of them before conference play in the net rankings is Oregon State. And the only way Nebraska would play them would be in the title game in Hawaii. So
it would be a quad one.
It would be a quad one on the neutral site right now, because Oregon State is currently 42nd. And if you're top 50 on a neutral site, that's a quad one game.
Can I ask Rob an unfair question?
Sure.
Rank these 3 players: James Palmer, Taryn Petaway, and Bryce Williams. They're all they're similar positional.
Well, 2 of them were first team all Big Ten. One of them's not. So Bryce has a ways to go before he gets into that conversation. Yes. Bryce is really good. But, I mean, look at what Taryn Petaway was. Like, if he wasn't on the court, Nebraska wasn't scoring. And so people criticize his shot volume. Outside of Siobhan Shields, they didn't have anybody else to shoot it. James Palmer, he had a little more help, but they had no depth. And so like he and that starting group had to be so good every single night for Nebraska to go. And you saw what happened when Copeland went down. They didn't have it. And so with Bryce, he has the luxury of having more help around him than either of those 2 guys. And so, but you still need him for Nebraska to do what they want to do this season. Bryce Williams needs to be an all-conference player.
He's a really interesting
player. He's the reigning Big Ten player of the week. He is on track.
He scores at all 3 levels.
Yes.
Which is you can't say that about a lot of guys.
And he's being more assertive on the boards, and he dished out 5 assists last game.
They put him on Miles Rice late too.
And after Miles Rice scored 13 straight points, they put Bryce Williams on him, and he shut him down. Rice did not score the rest of the game.
And Robin, when does Nebraska fly out to Hawaii?
Friday.
I would assume they fly commercial on this deal.
I would assume so. And it's interesting too. They had to get a waiver.
Like a travel agent.
Well, you can't charter in Hawaii.
they got points. They had to get a waiver to leave Friday because it's still the final day of finals week. So for them to leave a day early, because they're doing that to adjust body clocks and do all that sort of stuff. So they had to jump through a couple of hoops to do that and leave on Friday.
And for the record, I offered to send Robin to Hawaii.
Yeah, and then football started winning.
Well, and then also Christmas too. It's hard to be away.
Yeah, I've heard that trip it's seems like it's a lot more enjoyable than it is because it's so jam packed. You're playing 3 games in 4 days. You're practicing, and so there's not a lot of like lounging on the beach, enjoying a pina colada or whatever they drink out there.
Pina colada.
You'd go. I mean,
What did you drink?
A Mai Tai.
Mai Tai. Thank
Yeah.
you. I couldn't think of my tropical beverage.
Yeah. Well, last time I went there, they gave me so many free vouchers for Mai Tais, I couldn't even finish them. Because I mean, they're sweet.
Yeah, it's a lot of sugar. But anyway, so I will not be in Hawaii. I will not be in Hawaii. I'll be covering it at 10 o'clock at night from my
Are they televised?
Yes.
All of them. These games are happening because ESPN needs content over Christmas.
Okay.
Because other than the NBA and the Sheraton Hawaii Bowl, there's like no content. Now NFL is on Christmas Day, but like that time of year, I mean, you're just not getting content. But all right, full coverage from Robin from the games in Hawaii. Make sure you stay on HuskerOnline.com. Again, we'll have Husker Online headlines later this week. For Robin Washut, Steve Sipple, I'm Sean Callahan.